I'm trying to keep myself calm here, Nicole.
Why?
Because I'm really upset.
That's okay.
You get tired of people playing fast and loose with your dead. And it was triggered by Obama. You know how many dead people are in the bottom of rivers in Mississippi because they tried to vote? How many dead folk, right? Folk who have wounds because of this. And here we are in this moment in the country's history, and we have to deal with this again. You see what I mean? So you think about the glorious revolution, our glorious revolution that produced the Constitution, the courts constrained, restrained it, limited, Dred Scott. Doesn't extend to us. You think about the Civil War, left 600,000 plus dead. Get the Reconstruction Amendments. We finally look like we're going to try to become a democracy. What do we get? The courts. Slaughterhouse cases. Reduces it. Rolls it back. And now here we are. We've only been a democracy since 1965. Barely then. 15 years later, Reagan is elected, Mobile decision happens. Right? Roberts begins his career right there. And so here we are. It's exhausting. And so, yes, we have to get together. Yes, we have to mobilize. Yes, we have to organize. But these people play fast and loose with our dead. They play fast and loose with our sacrifices. They think they own freedom. They can give it to us and take it away whenever they want. And they think we're just supposed to sit here and take this, right? So first of all, I'm just going to express my rage at this decision. And then the second thing we need to do, of course, is to get about the hard work of trying to salvage this democracy as we've done since the moment we've been on these shores.
Where does the first part of it end and the second part begin?
The first part of it ends when we admit, honestly, that racism still occupies the throne of this country. There's nothing about our current days that should lead us to believe that we are in a post-racial world. There's nothing about our days. And then once we admit of our sins, then perhaps we open up a future for us to be otherwise. But the noble lie isn't noble at all. Racism still occupies the throne of this country.
Beautiful message, inspiring message, passionate message from Eddie Glaude with MSNBC or MS Now. Right message, wrong messenger, because this was Eddie Glaude in 2016.
Oh, no, the science is wrong. That's just the way racial inequality works. It's not about intentional prejudice. It's about a cultural practice, as Professor Imani Perry says.
I want to end just by asking you and Langston about your choice for president. Bernie Sanders just endorsed Hillary Clinton. Your thoughts on that? Then we're going to have a post-show conversation.
Yeah, I'm not, I believe like Jose Saramago in Seeing, that wonderful novel written by that Portuguese writer, Nobel Prize winner in 1996, that we should blank out. That those of us who are not in the battleground states, that those of us who are in blue states or red states, that we should just leave the ballot blank. As Melville's Bartleby Scrivener says, I prefer not. I can't stand either one of them.
Langston, your thoughts on the election?
I agree 100%. There needs to be a stance amongst the people that we are not going to simply accept the status quo any longer, especially when the status quo is the very thing that is costing us our lives and our livelihoods. So I personally don't find either one of the candidates favorable in any sense, because, again, a change needs to come on the behalf of the people, and I don't believe either one is prepared to bring that change in the manner that we need it.
We're going to have to leave it there. I thank you both for...
And to make sure that his huge platform and all of the people that were following him understood what it is that he was saying, he put out a tweet that said, I should be clear, I am not voting for Hillary Clinton. Now, I don't know if he voted third party. I believe he was a Bernie bro and he was butthurt that Bernie didn't get the nomination. I could be wrong. Y'all could correct it down below. But he made it clear he was not voting for Hillary Clinton. So I don't know if he voted third party or if he just left it blank or if he wrote someone in. But yeah, that's Eddie Glaude. And there was plenty of others like him. Mark Lamont Hill is another one. His tweet is still up. I have to show y'all proof because when it comes to these people, I get a lot of pushback from black people because, yeah, they didn't see it, they didn't hear it, so they don't believe it. Mark Lamont Hill back on June 6, 2015, said, "But to be clear, I have no intention of voting for Hillary Clinton, and I've never suggested that I did." So, Mark Lamont Hill was a part of the problem. I believe in 2020, he voted for Democrats. I'm not sure, don't hold me to that, but I think he did. I remember seeing articles. So, yeah, these people, Nina Turner, all of these people, yeah, they have added to the reason why we're here with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act being gutted. And it's because of people like Mark Lamont Hill and Nina Turner and what's her name? Brianna Joy, the Bernie Bros. Yeah. And Eddie Glaude and people who took 2016's election as a joke and went into the voting booth and voted for Harambe the gorilla. Yeah, it's because of those people that we ended up with Donald Trump in 2016. Hillary Clinton tried to warn people and say that the Supreme Court is at stake. And you had people like Brianna, isn't that her name? Brianna Joy? She's one of the Bernie Bros. Yeah, she's now a Jill Stein supporter. She was one of the ones that basically said you can't fearmonger us. The Supreme Court is not a factor in any of this. When the Supreme Court was one of the top major factors to vote against Trump to get Hillary Clinton into office. Because Hillary Clinton didn't win the election, Donald Trump was able to place 3 Supreme Court justices. He placed Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch. And that's how we ended up with the Supreme Court with 6 Republicans on it and 3 Democrats. Yeah, this is how the Supreme Court is able to overturn all of these protections and laws that protected black people when it came to voting, when it came to jobs, when it came to education. Yeah, that's how we got here.
I want to talk to you about the Supreme Court's decision today, which destroyed the last meaningful protections of the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act is the crown jewel of the civil rights movement and has been transformative and essential to ensuring that everyone, especially Black Americans, can participate in our democracy. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act bans racial discrimination in voting, including racially disparate outcomes that deprive minority voters of political power. Today, the Supreme Court's right-wing majority interpreted Section 2 only to bar racial gerrymanders where it's proved that the gerrymander was done with racist intent. Not only does that contravene Congress's plain intent and the plain language of the statute, it also, as the conservative justices know, is nearly impossible to prove. With this ruling, their decades-long project to eviscerate the Voting Rights Act is now complete. As Justice Kagan said in her dissent, this decision basically renders the Voting Rights Act dead letter. This now means that states across the South can and will act to create racial gerrymanders of their state's congressional districts. They'll do it by splitting Black populations among multiple districts, so they're a minority in each, diluting their political power. This is a deeply sad day for American democracy. But here in Connecticut, we planned ahead. In 2023, we passed the strongest state-level Voting Rights Act in the country. In fact, I was proud to co-author and help lead passage of it as House Chairman of the Government Administration and Elections Committee. Without congressional action, we can't do much to revive the Voting Rights Act at the national level. But here in Connecticut, you can continue to count on us to fight relentlessly to ensure that our elections are free and fair and every voice is heard in our democracy.
Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee put out a post yesterday saying that they should gerrymander, redraw the maps in Tennessee now that the Supreme Court has ruled. The state of Alabama, Kate Ivey, I believe her name is, also came out and said that Alabama should redraw its maps. I believe Mississippi also came out and said that they should redraw their maps. I could be wrong on that. But there's a third one that came out, and I can't remember. If y'all remember, put it put it down in the comments.
So let me just save y'all 96 pages of reading this. The Supreme Court said, and I'm going to try to use code words to try to explain what's going on because they're going to heavily suppress this video. Back in 2021, Louisiana tried to pack our black asses up in one damn suitcase, knowing damn well we make up 1/3 of the population. And even though we made up 1/3, why the hell do we only have one seat? Black voters in Louisiana put 2 and 2 together and understood the math wasn't mathing.
2 + 2 is 4, right? And 5 + 5 is 10. Okay. What the is this?
So of course they were going to take them to court, which they argued that it violates Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which has to take into account race. The map that they drew was purposely designed to dilute and diminish the black vote. So long story short, we won in the lower courts. So that meant a new map had to be drawn. And when they drew out that map, it drew out black voters because voter turnout for blacks was all the way up. I'm all the way up. And we was up 1 seat electing CeeLo Fields. And Republicans were big mad about it. So you know what they did? They said, we're going to call the manager, meaning the Supreme Court, and we're going to challenge this shit. And 6 of these came to their rescue and struck down our shit. And now they telling us we have to prove racism. Prove racism. The proof is in the pudding. What else do you need? Let me tell you what y'all need. And I'm talking to you watching this damn video. Y'all need to start taking these elections more seriously. Y'all sit here and take your rights for granted and think that your vote doesn't matter. If your vote didn't matter, why are they doing so much to dilute the black voice, the black vote, people of color? Why are they trying to make it harder and harder and harder for us to have representation? Because one thing Republicans understand, that when we show up and when we vote, things change. So I'm gonna need y'all to start paying attention to your local races. You just can't show up during the presidential race. You have to show up in the midterms. You need to show up for your local legislators, your governors. Y'all have to start voting like you actually give a damn, or else we're all gonna be damned.
Shout out to Kenny for breaking down that case from beginning to end so that we can easily understand it.
Okay, so this is a pretty important video. Please watch till the end. The Supreme Court today did something that they have been dying to do for decades, and it's devastating, particularly if you are a black or brown American. They gutted the Voting Rights Act. 6-3, straight down ideological lines. Before I explain what it means, I need you to hear one thing clearly. The Voting Rights Act ended Jim Crow at the ballot box. It protected the premise of fair and equal elections. That is what the conservative majority on this Supreme Court just came for. This is a truly dark day in our democracy. Now, conservatives, of course, will dress this up in legal language. They'll call it equal protection or say they're being colorblind. Don't get pulled into the semantics debate trap. Here's what's actually happening. The GOP and the conservative majority on this court are attacking black political power as a front to seize illegitimate control over all of us. When black voters have power, we all get better healthcare, better schools, more accountability. When conservatives silence that, they are setting up a system where they can overrule all of us. Justice Kagan, in one of the most extraordinary acts of protest you will ever see from a Supreme Court justice, read her dissent out loud from the bench. That never happens. She called this ruling what it is, the completed demolition of the Voting Rights Act. The numbers are brutal. Analysts are saying that up to 19 congressional seats could be seized by 2028. This would decimate the Congressional Black Caucus. Nearly half of majority black state legislative districts in the South could vanish. So this is not just a policy dispute, it is a power grab, and it is going to affect way more than just black and brown voters. Although, obviously, they are the ones hurt the most. Remember, step one is always sidelining black political power, because when black people show up, these people lose. If they can sideline that, they can overrule all of us. That's how it works. That's always been the plan, and they're not even pretending it's not anymore. But I want to close with this. They have taken some tools, but they have not taken them all. There are lawsuits already in motion. More will come. We want to donate to the groups who are suing on our behalf. We need to use the 2026 elections to elect candidates who are committed to passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act at the first possible moment. And this is really important. We need to back candidates who support actual Supreme Court reform. I'm talking about term limits, a binding code of ethics, and maybe expanding the bench. This court is fundamentally broken, but remember, broken things can be fixed. Y'all, they are betting that we're going to get overwhelmed and give up. Don't give it to them. Grieve today, fight tomorrow. And finally, to any black or brown voter feeling devastated by today's ruling, I can't even imagine how you must feel, but I'm so fucking sorry. And I, for one, will not stop fighting until you get your freedom to vote back. You deserve so much better.
Since the decision was made public on yesterday, I've been whispering from time to time, I'm sorry to my ancestors because, yeah, this is devastating. Our ancestors died for the right to vote. For years, myself and so many others have been trying to explain to black people that your vote is your voice, and the Republican Party would not be working so hard to try to get you not to use your power if it wasn't valuable. I'm gonna leave y'all with Gary Chambers. He's bringing us up to speed on what is going on after the decision was made, what is going on down in Louisiana. Yeah, I don't think I'm coming back today, y'all.
For all those who agreed with Mr. Huggathug the other day, tell me if you agree with Governor Jeff Landry today as he discusses the Supreme Court ruling that strikes down Louisiana's second majority black congressional district. Watch this.
Congressman Troy Carter just put out a statement that this dilutes the power of black voters here in Louisiana. How do you respond to that, Governor?
I disagree with that. I mean, look, I think this whole race baiting race issue on the redistricting has been put to bed finally once and for all. What it says is that listen, the legislature and the people control the pen, not the federal government, not a federal judge. This is the legislature. Remember, that legislature represents the people.
Now, Jeff says that it's race baiting for black people who make up 33% of the state of Louisiana to want to have equal representation in Congress. No, we don't want taxation without representation. Secondly, the governor says that the will of the legislature is a reflective of the will of the people. Well, the legislature drew state maps that robs Louisiana of black voters of 8 to 10 seats in the legislature, which allows them to pass all of these racist maps. And if you don't think that this will impact you, Marsha Blackburn, the senator from Tennessee, is already encouraging the legislature in Tennessee to redraw their congressional maps to eliminate all black and Democratic congressional seats. She's running for governor of Tennessee. Now I want you to listen to State Representative Edmund Jordan, the chair of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus, as he explains the racist history of Louisiana stripping away black political power.
This reminds me of 1868 when John Willis Menard was elected by the people of Louisiana and was not seated by Congress. And then in 1873 and 1874, the people of Louisiana, mostly African American as well, voted for PBS Pinchback, our former governor, to serve in the U.S. Senate, and he was not seated as well, both of them because of race. And I'm sure people had their valid reasons for which they said. This brings me back to 1898, the 1898 Constitution here in Louisiana, where we went and dealt with, created this non-unanimous jury to uphold the supremacy of the white race. And so we've got all these things in this backdrop and all this context that we're dealing with. And I just wonder, how do you want history to remember you? Because we are going back in those same lines.
Now I live in Baton Rouge, and this is my Congressman Cleo Fields, and that is Troy Carter, the congressman from New Orleans. Listen to Congressman Cleo Fields, who this exact same thing happened to in 1995.
And the courts ruled that they were right. The legislature went back and eliminated the district. Here we go again. I've never served a day in Congress without a lawsuit in the Supreme Court. Louisiana's minority population is over 33% black. People have a right to participate in their democracy. If you tell me that I gotta jump a certain height, I could probably do that. Tell me I gotta run a certain district, distance, I could probably do that too. But if you tell me I have to be white to serve in Congress from Louisiana, I can't do nothing about that. I need some help from my government.
That's right.
And that's why we need to pass, as soon as possible, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
The congressional seat that Congressman Fields holds was eliminated in 1995 by a Supreme Court ruling. Louisiana has not had a black member of Congress for the Baton Rouge area or North Louisiana since 1995 until 2023. This will be the second election for Congressman Fields since this district has been created. But I want you to listen to old Jeff Clandry as he tells you that if Trump calls him, they are prepared to respond here in Louisiana and take away the seats of both Congressman Cleo Fields and Congressman Troy Carter.
In the other room mentioned President Trump. President Trump is trying to keep that majority in Congress. What happens if he calls you and says, look, I need a map this year that reduces the black or the Democratic seat in Louisiana? What are you going to say to him?
Well, look, I think that here's the thing. What I would say is that this is up to the legislature, and certainly the Supreme Court has made it clear that you can draw congressional districts based upon party lines.
Including a possible special session.
Well, I mean, again, that's going to be the decision of the legislature on what we do. We're in session right now. So again, I think that everything is on the table.
Now, Jeff has 5 constitutional amendments on the ballot May 16th. I have a community meeting tomorrow at Louisiana Leadership explaining all of the constitutional amendments and how we can make sure that the governor hears from the people of Louisiana and what we think about what he has to say. And I want you to listen to how much Jeff Landry says it has cost the voters of Louisiana to fight black people having representation in Louisiana.
Spent tens of millions of dollars on lawyers. Since 2011, I think we spent $40 million. No telling how much we spent since the 1990s.
Jeff Landry is up for re-election next year in 2027. I intend to spend the summer doing Civics for the People sessions, ensuring that people all over Louisiana understand who their governor is and why he needs to go home. As always, do good, seek justice, keep pushing.